Forged from Iron is proud to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham United fans and friends inspired by the work of other football fan food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations from Newham Food Bank in Beckton, who supply 7 distribution centres in the borough, 7 days a week, and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. They are supported in their efforts by West Ham United Football Club, the WHU Foundation, LS185, London Legacy Development Corporation, Newham Council, the Met Police, Spire London East Hospital, Expedient Security, and a large number of West Ham and football fans. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thank you for your support. Come on, you Irons. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Forged from Iron. Please don't forget to like, comment on, and share the stream to your social media platforms. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're new around here, and please don't forget to hit the bell icon for alerts on new content. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you very much indeed for your support. We're here for a little episode of Talk West Ham. I thought I'd jump on and have a little chat. I've been doing other things in the last couple of weeks, other little things that I've been getting involved in. Needed a little break, so disappeared for a little bit, and here I am now. So hope you're all well. I'll get into the live chat in a minute. I had a little day away from West Ham. I didn't watch the game at all, other than the highlights that I've seen just before I've hit go live. But I'm obviously on a few WhatsApp groups, and I was aware of the match as it unfolded at Brighton down at the Amex. And look, we all know that we've not got a good record against Brighton. I mean, we haven't beaten them in what? Is it 10, 11 years now? Something like that. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's getting something of a self-fulfilling prophecy now. We just seem to have Brighton in the fixture list, and it's like we look at the game and we as a supporter base and probably the players and the management staff, probably truthfully, look at the fixture, and I think that there's instantly this sense of trepidation that immediately befalls them. They just sort of seem to have this blind spot when it comes to Brighton and Hove Albion, and it's really quite odd because it's not like they're Real Madrid, it's not like they're prime AC Milan or anything like that. I'm not saying that to try and be disrespectful to Brighton. You know, they're a very well-run club. They're established now in the Premier League for a good many years, so I'm not trying to do them wrong. But this run is just ridiculous. We just can't seem to get a win against them. It really is quite baffling. But I think that an away defeat at Brighton probably wasn't a surprise, but as the messages are pinging through, and 1-0 turned into 2-0, turned into 3-0, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, please don't be 4. And what happened? 4th goal went in, and I was like, bloody hell! I was at Twickenham. You can probably tell from the top that I'm wearing. I was at the rugby, and I was watching Harlequins, and they smashed Exeter Chiefs, and in the same fashion that West Ham got smashed by Brighton and Hove Albion. So it was quite prophetic as it goes. But I don't know. Something feels a little bit different, and I'll get any of you guys that were in the live chat, any of you guys that were there, please let me know, because something just feels very different about this defeat. In that the reports that I'm getting, I saw some reports of, oh, the crowd are singing, you're getting sacked in the morning. And I thought, okay, well, that's usually a little bit of banter coming from the away fans, or coming from the opposition fans, excuse me. And that really didn't surprise me. But later, I then discovered, no, that was coming from the West Ham fans. Really? I was shocked. I was shocked. Now, the thing that makes me think that possibly David Moyes is on borrowed time now, that he's skating on very thin ice. When the travelling support 2,000, 3,000 turn on the manager like that, and they are actively singing "You're getting sacked" in the morning, I do think that changes the dynamic quite drastically. I do think that possibly could be the death knell of the West Ham reign of David Moyes. And I'm also hearing some comments about some of the tone of Declan Rice's post-match interview, which I haven't seen. As I say, all I've literally seen is the goals, and none of them look particularly like they were world-class goals. They were all goals that I'm sitting here as a guy with an entry-level coaching qualification in football, looking at and just going, they're goals that if I was coaching an under-8s mini soccer team, I'd be quite disappointed if we concede. I mean, the penalty from Bowen, the penalty conceded by Jared Bowen, excuse me, was just a really silly foul to give away. I mean, it was a blatant penalty in my opinion. I don't really see that. If it was down the other end, I'd be absolutely screaming for a penalty. So I don't have any complaints over the penalty. But the other goals, the goals from open play, I mean, the goal from the corner to make it 2-0. I mean, Ben Johnson, that was surely his man. The guy that was sort of like basically had a free run and just chested it over the line past Areola. Just where was you? Where was you, Ben Johnson? That was very, very disappointing. And then the third and the fourth goals, yeah, that was awful. That was really poor. And not unexpected. Not unexpected. A defeat at the Amex, I repeat, is not something that I wasn't expecting. Like I say, it has become something of a self-fulfilling prophecy that you just look at Brighton and go, we know we're not going to win. And lo and behold, we don't. So that's not surprising. Like I say, but a 4-0 defeat. And then the fans, the West Ham fans, essentially turning up the heat on David Moyes. I do wonder whether that is going to be the catalyst, whether that's going to be what finally spurs David Sullivan into pulling the trigger. The question then becomes, if he does pull the trigger, who's he going to turn to? I've said it a few times on the channel that I think he should have pulled the trigger after the Leicester game before the World Cup started. I think that was the ideal time. He didn't do it. Having then come back from the World Cup, okay, I can understand that you want to be a little bit loyal, fine. We then played Arsenal away. We then played Brentford at home before the transfer window opened, and we stunk the place out both times, in my view. We just capitulated against Arsenal when they applied the pressure. And against Brentford, we simply didn't turn up, in my view, other than the first 10, 15 minutes of the match. Other than that, it was pretty much all Brentford. And I think then you needed to pull the trigger, Mr. Sullivan. You needed to pull the trigger then and give whoever came in that entire transfer window to do the business. Get players out that are deadwood, bring in some fresh blood, some fresh impetus, and get the team moving, get the team performing. He didn't do it. And we went through that transfer window, and the only player that we really added to the first team squad was Danny Ings, who on debut lasted, 18 minutes before he got an injury? And let's be honest, this is a player that I know that people turned around and said to me, because I had the impression, probably the same as most of you, that this was an injury-prone player. And as I say, 18 minutes into his debut, and he gets an injury and he's out for a game or two, and you sort of go, well, that was par for the course. But then immediately people turned around to me and went, aha, but you do realise that for the previous 2 seasons, he's had a very good injury record. Okay, fine. But he wouldn't have been my choice. But, you know, he obviously scored 2 goals last week. Fine, no problem. We move on. But I do look at this defeat and I just think that this could be quite different. But who on earth are we going to get? Because the list of managers we could have had either before the World Cup or before the transfer window opened, I believe that the list of managers that would have been interested in West Ham as a project, as a going concern, would have been fairly substantial. I think that we would have had a certain group of managers, a certain clutch of managers that we could have appealed to. I think that that clutch of managers now, with regret, is vanishingly small because whoever you're going to get in has to work with this group of players who are completely bereft of any confidence, who don't seem to have any coherent ability to negotiate 90 minutes of Premier League football and pick up results, grind out draws here, wins there. Yeah, okay, great. We beat Nottingham Forest. We beat Everton. Let's be completely honest here. If we can't beat Everton and Nottingham Forest at the London Stadium, then we really are in the shit. Let's be completely honest about it. Who could possibly come in and do the job? I mean, there was talk about Rafa Benitez. He's turned around and said he wants apparently a 3.5-year contract. Sullivan, I don't think he's too keen on that. Who are we going to get in? I mean, I heard Michael Carrick's name being mentioned. Are you kidding me? Don't get me wrong. He's doing a fantastic job at Middlesbrough. Why on earth would he come to a West Ham team that's staring down the barrel of relegation from the Premier League when he's at a team that is at the upper echelons of the Championship? Why would he leave Middlesbrough to come to West Ham in their current situation? I don't think he comes. I seriously don't. And this is poor planning on the part of David Sullivan. This is poor due diligence. This is a guy that's meant to be a very successful businessman. This is a guy that's meant to have multiple businesses. He's not just involved in the porn industry, which everybody knows that that's probably what he's best known for, but he's involved in property. His property portfolio is quite large and all the rest of it. This is not a stupid man in terms of business. And yet it seems that in terms of football, my God, he hasn't got a clue. He just doesn't seem to have grasped the nettle. And it may well be that now, even if he pulls the trigger, it may well be that it's too late. It's too late because who's going to replace him? What, you're going to give the gig to Mark Noble? You're going to give the gig to Kevin Nolan? Listen, with all due respect, neither one of them have any experience of managing in the Premier League. I know what some of you might turn around and say. Neither did Trevor Brooking in 2003 when Glenn Roeder had his brain hemorrhage, whatever it was that was going on. He obviously came in for the last 3 games of that Premier League season and almost we escaped the drop, but not quite. But it was no reflection on Sir Trevor Brooking. But that was, 20 years ago. The Premier League has moved on, and I'm not entirely convinced that if we went down that route again of bringing in a former club legend, which Mark Noble is. I mean, I'm not saying he's a footballing legend, but he's a legend as far as West Ham's concerned, that he would come in and he would be able to steady the ship. I'm not entirely convinced, but I really don't know. One thing that's for certain that I do know is that I think that the time has come, Mr. Sullivan. I think that seriously, I think that we're going to get sucked into we are in a relegation battle, but I think if we keep David Moyes, I think we're going down. I believe we're going down. I hope I'm wrong. And I say that whether it's David Moyes that's in charge once game 38 is finished or not, I hope that we are still a Premier League team next season, because I seriously think that the ramifications for Premier League relegation could be absolutely catastrophic for the club. Because, and Gonzo said it on Hammer's chat, we have a stadium, an athletic stadium that we are trying to shoehorn football in and have done since 2016 when we walked through the door. We're trying to shoehorn football into it, but it is fundamentally an athletic stadium. 62,000 seats that we can occupy on a match day. Do you honestly think we're selling out 62,000 seats at the London Stadium in the Championship on a Tuesday night in November in the pissing down rain when we're playing Rotherham? With all due respect to Rotherham, can you honestly see that these fairly wealthy middle-class families, and we all know that there are lots of fans or lots of people, lots of customers, as Karen Brady would call them, that go to the London Stadium that are not dyed-in-the-wool West Ham fans like me, that have been following the club for over 40 years and have seen us get promoted, seen us get relegated, seen us get beat in a cup final, seen us get beat in playoff final against Palace, done the hard yards. These are people that are fairly wealthy, middle-class families. They see Premier League football, they see it on the telly, and they come along with their buckets of popcorn. Oh, this is jolly good, isn't it, Jemima? Do you know what I mean? You know the sort, and they turn up with their Manchester United shirt on. It's fucking embarrassing. It really is. But can you honestly see that these people are going to turn up if we're a Championship club? Like I say, mid-November, pissing down with rain, howling wind, playing Rotherham. Can you see these people turning up? Can you see 62,000 West Ham fans in? You'll be arsehole lucky if you get 35, 40,000 top whack. The last time we was in the Championship, we averaged 31,000. That's half the capacity of London Stadium. We are not filling that stadium in the Championship. So therefore, we've lost a lot of the fear factor from when we was in the Championship in years gone by, when we had Upton Park, a intimidating atmosphere, a intimidating cathedral of football, where 31,000 in a stadium that held, 36,000, something like that, from memory. That's a lot more intimidating. The stands were closer. You've got, percentage-wise, a bigger portion of the stadium that's occupied. You'll get 31,000 in a 62,000 stadium. That's not going to intimidate anyone. No one's going to come to the London Stadium with a half-empty stadium. No team's going to come there and have the fear of God put into them. I'm sorry, but they're just not going to. A relegation right now would be absolutely catastrophic. And I think that with David Moyes at the helm, I think that's precisely where we're headed. You might disagree. I am now going to turn my attention to the live comments. I've had a little bit of a rant. I've tried to be constructive. I've tried not to get too aerated, but I am quite frustrated. I think that we're in a lot more trouble than some people believe. I mean, I'm hearing things about, there's 3 more teams that are worse than us in the Premier League over 38 games. I wouldn't be so sure. I really wouldn't be so sure. And I think if we're relying upon 3 teams that are worse than us, we're in a world of hurt. Anyway, let's have a little look at the live chat. Okay, if any of you guys have got your comments in, I thank you for that. UKRDT says, get him out now. Cyber says, agree, but one fan on TalkSport still wants him. You're always going to have some. And listen, it's opinions at the end of the day. And I'm not saying that my opinion is right. My opinion might be wrong. But I think that my opinion is in the overwhelming majority, as I'm probably about to find out. Steve, hope you're well. Time for him to go. However, I don't see Sullivan acting, which is madness. 100%, mate. Absolutely. He's got to go. I think that we're going down with David Moyes, and that gives me no pleasure. I mean, look, I appreciate what he's done for the club. Saved us from relegation the first time when we looked like we was going down under Slav. He's waved a cheery goodbye. In comes Pellegrini, a sexy manager, apparently. He then looks like he's going to take us down. Back comes Moyes, saves us from relegation. 6th place, European football. 7th place, European semi-final. European football again. 180 million quid. Brilliant. But it's all gone tits up this season, and unfortunately, the Premier League's an unforgiving beast. Mandy says Saints got their win against Leicester. Yeah, see, that was a strange one. I didn't quite know which. I'd have probably preferred a draw in that game. It was probably one of those where if either team wins, it's like there's pluses and minuses either way. So probably a draw would have been better for us. But of course, typically it didn't happen. But look, we can't rely on the results elsewhere. We've got to do our own stuff on the pitch. And if we can't do it on the pitch, we shouldn't be sitting there and going, oh, well, I hope this team wins and I hope this team drops points and all the rest of it. Look, we can't live our lives like that. That's not how we can survive. That's one of the most pitiful performances he's seen by a West Ham side. And Steve's seen a few. Hey, Larry, hope you're well, mate. Walshy, hope you are good. Did I go to the game today, says Gemma? No. Well, if you're referring to the Harlequins game, yes, I did. If you're referring to the West Ham game, no, I didn't, because I had this booked ages ago. There you go. Scott, hope you are well. Greatest comeback since Jesus. He shares a birthday with me, so it's quite a similarity. Mandy says Brighton fan came in on the West Ham fan cam and said, "Please do not get relegated. You are good for 6 points a season," and that sums it up. We are just an absolute laughing stock. We were pathetic today, says Lawrence. I'm not even too sure we were that good from what I've been hearing. I mean, I'm looking here at some of the stats, and the boys might get into this sort of when they do their preview review in due course. But 90 minutes of football, we had 3 shots, 2 on target. We had 34% of the possession. Again, you guys will know that I'm not overly sort of bothered by possession in and of itself. It's all about what you do with it. But our pass accuracy, 78%. I mean, for fuck's sake. Seriously? It's just pathetic. And the team gave up. And that's unacceptable. That is unacceptable. I can tolerate losing. I can't tolerate players giving up. Cheers, mate. Thank you very much. The local air raid siren, you'll get the ref, went off about 10 minutes ago, so we're watching together at the moment. Fair enough, my friend. No shock the fans were singing that. He's obviously referring to you getting sacked in the morning. I don't know. Is there a shock that the fans were singing that? I mean, like I say, Pete, I mean, when that happens, I think the writing's on the wall. I think he is skating on incredibly thin ice. I wouldn't be shocked if he's not the West Ham manager when we play Villa on Sunday, a week tomorrow. But then the question is it going to be that the only reason he survives isn't because David Sullivan knows that he's absolutely out of his depth now? Or is he just going to sort of keep him because because Sullivan hasn't got a clue who to replace him with? I mean, fucking hell, that's a bad situation to be in. Craven, hope you're well. Nolan lost it with Moyes on the touchline. Wow. Now that I wasn't aware with. If that's accurate, fuck me. And Antonio walked out, hence why he wasn't even on the bench. Yeah, I mean, look, again, I don't know whether that's accurate or inaccurate. I've heard that the story I heard that was put out was Antonio was injured. Now, of course, if Antonio walked out, they're very unlikely to turn around and say that he walked out. So they're just going to come out with some load of old bollocks by saying, oh, he had a hamstring strain or something like that. So it wouldn't shock me, mate. Epic. Players want him gone. You'll see a completely rejuvenated group of players when we get a new manager. Yeah, has he lost the dressing room? I mean, a performance like that, where everybody's saying, mate, we gave up, it does tend to suggest that maybe he has lost the dressing room. And once you've lost the dressing room, and once you've lost that hardcore away support, the ones that are going through thick and thin, the ones that are going in all weathers, length and breadth of the country, that 2,000-3,000 hardcore support, once you lose them, you're fucked. If Brighton had got out of second gear, it could have been 8 or 9, and that is absolutely embarrassing. Craven says, Rafa will be here soon. The axe is about to fall. I don't think we can turn. I know a little while ago, to be honest with you, mate, I'd have probably been Rafa. No thanks. Now, I've got to be honest, I'm like, it's almost got to the stage, anyone but Moyes. Mandy says, Nolan is passionate about our football. Let him take the job. So am I. I'm not too sure that passion itself is the only quality that you need, Mandy. I understand what you're saying. Don't get me wrong. I'm being a little bit facetious. But I think that some people can be a little bit over passionate. And it doesn't work either. So it's about finding that balance for me. That I just worry because he's got no Premier League experience. The first 3 goals were because of bad deafness by Johnson. I think that might be predictive. Defense. Yeah, okay. First 3 goals were because of bad defense by Johnson. Yeah, it didn't look like a great game from him. I mean, it wasn't a great game from Naya Fagur against Manchester United the other night. This wasn't a particularly good showing from Ben Johnson at right back. No fight, no passion. Again, unforgivable for me. That is an absolute non-negotiable quality that I demand from a West Ham team. All of you guys in the live chat, me, all the fans that go the length and breadth of the country, the away fans especially, they're the absolute cornerstone of the support that this club has. The absolute cornerstone. And they spend an awful lot of money to follow the team. And if you have a situation that unfolds where there is no fight and no passion that is on obvious display, quality is fine. Okay, if they're just better than you, fine. But fight and passion, that is an absolute non-negotiable quality. And if, Pete, you're right and there was no fight or passion, that is absolutely unforgivable. And I'm sorry, that's on the manager. I know that you've obviously got to lay a level of the blame at the door of the players. Their professional pride, if you will, needs to kick in. But the manager's the one that sets the tone. The manager's the one that sets the tactics. And the tactics have been shit all season. It's been boring. We should have sold Johnson and kept Ashby. I agree. Let me rephrase that. I definitely agree we should have kept Ashby. Johnson, the jury's out for me still. Wasn't a great game today, but I don't know. I think probably you're right with Johnson as well. Regrettably, I just don't think. Probably he's not good enough. He's probably not good enough. Charlie comes in, says the away fans very seldom turn on the boys or the boss. Exactly. They've never turned on Moyes this season before today, but Wolves was very close. Today seems like the final straw with them. This could be a seminal moment in the season. I think this could be a fatal blow in David Moyes' time as West Ham manager. But I think the only thing that will keep him in a job is the fact that David Sullivan, quite frankly, doesn't have a fucking clue what to do and who to replace him with. Should have sold Rice in the summer. There is a part of me that agrees with you, Pete. There is a part of me that can see what you're saying. I think that if we'd have sold Declan Rice in January, I think that possibly that maybe... But then sort of like David Moyes he pissed away 180 million in the summer on signings that, I've got to be honest, at the time, and this is not me being wise after the event, I said it at the time, that the only thing that concerned me with the signings that he brought in by and large was the lack of Premier League experience. If you looked at even the players that had Premier League experience, it was quite limited. Areola, Cornet, Emerson, it was not like they were sort of like they'd had 100, 150 Premier League games over 3-4 seasons. It wasn't that much. I've been about, Hammer. I have been about. Hope you're well and welcome along. Craven, there still isn't any Moyes interview on social media accounts. They always post them after each game. Telling? ? Very could be. When's he going? Hopefully soon. Welcome back, Gatesy. Or is Duke still the manager? there is no manager here, mate. You know, it's me and Duke, and it's always been me and Duke that run this channel, and that's it. Nothing's changed. I just had a break. Job done. Right, WHUFC, what is happening with Moyes is the symptoms of how inept Sullivan is running a football club. Again, said it earlier, mate. I appreciate this is sort of the 10:09 this comment came in, but I don't understand how a successful businessman, and say what you want about him, whether you like him, whether you don't, he clearly is a successful businessman, and he's completely fucked up as far as this club is concerned. Running it, just awful, absolutely awful. Hey Hammerhead, hope you are well. I am very good, thank you for asking. His interviews on the West Ham YouTube. Okay. I read something, a transcript of an interview that David Moyes gave. It just seems really just the usual platitudes, the usual bullshit that you expect a manager that's in his position to come out with. You don't need to apologise. I'll probably look better with a brown paper bag over your head, over my head even. So, yep. Thank you very much, Hammer. Hope you are well. Mandy G, the first half was the worst I've seen, and Moyes did nothing to change other than remove Benny. Do you know what? And again, that's something that's really, really rinse and repeat, isn't it? It's just he's never really been a manager that's proactive. He's always someone that's reactive, and usually he's reactive well after he needs to react to a situation. Look at the game against Manchester United the other day. Benny scores the goal to put us 1-0 up. What's immediately that happens? Ten Hag, right, you, over here, substitutions. We're going to change things around. We're going to change the dynamic of the match. We're going to grab the impetus, and we're going to wrestle this back from West Ham. And that's exactly what happened. What was Moyes' response? Fuck all. Absolutely fuck all. Craven comes in and says, soon as I say they would have only got back from Brighton about an hour ago, I'm guessing, so I doubt it tonight. Yeah, you never know, mate. I mean, they sacked Avram Grant. Mind you, that was too late. They sacked Avram Grant on the coach, wasn't it? Or before they got on the coach. Anyway, just having a little look through. It was his West Ham TV interview, not ones he was questioned about the fan chants, etc. And Hammer says, I don't believe he's going to Craven. And like I say, if he doesn't go, I think it's for no other reason that David Sullivan just goes, I don't know. I don't have anyone that's better than him. I think that's the only reason why he survives. Completely fucking ludicrous. Facebook user, whoever that is, hope you are well. I'd give it to Nolan until the end of the season. That's the second person in the live chat that's mentioned Nolan. And as I say, look, yes, he's got managerial experience, but it was at Notts County in, what was it, League One, League Two they was in at the time. I'm not so sure. But I do think that it's kind of got to the point where if you said to me, it's either Nolan or we keep David Moyes to the end of the season, I'd be like, Nolan, now. Charlie is suggesting Super Alan Pardew, and look at that. In comes Cyber. He also says Cyber. He says Pardew. But Hammer89 says Pardew, no thanks. And to be honest with you, I agree with that sentiment. I'm a big believer in never go back. I think that it very rarely works out, both for players and managers. And I know you could turn around and say, well, David Moyes came back and he got us a 6th and a 7th in his second spell. Yes, okay. But let's be honest, that first spell only lasted a couple of months. So it's not like he was a manager for a good couple of years and there was a big volume of work that you could make the comparison against his second spell. So I'm not quite sure that works. And Cyber's a jinx. So there you go. For the first time this season, I do believe that he's about to go. Sully was there today and saw the fans turn. When they turn, there's no holding back. There's no hoping back. That's the same for every team. And I agree with that. I really do. Whittle down the realistic options that Sullivan would actually appoint. Hammer. It's not a very long list. It would have been a lot longer, Charlie, if we'd have done it after the Leicester game. right now, I think you're right. I think that the short list is probably a microscopic list. I think it's probably about 1 or 2 lines, and it's probably Rafa Benitez and probably Mark Nolan and Kevin Nolan in a double act. That is probably it. It's probably those 2 options. And he'll probably appoint whichever option's the cheapest. And Hammer89 says he'd appoint Harry Redknapp. Listen, Harry did a great job for us. And in my time as a West Ham fan, I would probably say that he produced arguably the most entertaining teams. You know, he got us a lot of like 8th finish, 7th finish, and a 5th, whatever it was. We were sort of towards the top end. I mean, I remember a couple of seasons where we was virtually unbeatable at Upton Park under Harry for a couple of seasons. But again, I'm just not a believer in ever going back. I'm really not. BHAWHU, that would be the worst appointment ever, says Craven. You need a guest that watched the match. It was terrible. I don't want to. I don't want to. I've seen the highlights. I've seen enough people that were at the match, watching the match, that say that it was just shit. I don't really need to watch it. I'd rather not, quite frankly. It would spoil my mood. Would you take Paul Ince, says West Ham faithful? I'm not even going to answer that because you probably already know the answer. And I think that probably most of the people in the live chat probably agree with me. The answer is hell no. Charlie says, I was told he and Sullivan famously don't get on. That was Harry Redknapp he's referring to. So, yeah, I don't think they're best buddies. So I don't really see that David Sullivan's going to make the call down to a 70-odd-year-old Harry down on Sandbanks to come out of retirement and stop baking jam roly-polies for a living and come to West Ham and get us out of the shit. I don't see that's going to happen. Mandy says the team has no guts. They need to roll their sleeves up, and under Nolan that can happen. Again, Mandy, it's one of those where he wouldn't be my first choice. He really wouldn't be my first choice. But I do have to concede that our options are quite small. There are not a long list, and it may well be that Kevin Nolan has to be the guy that gets the job. But will Sullivan do it? Will he do it? Bag Pussy's obviously referring to Redknapp. He stabbed Billy Bonds in the back. Why do fans want saggy chops back after he did that to a club legend? Well, yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying. I'm also aware, though, that there are 2 sides to every story, and none of us were there. I mean, yeah, I mean, I think Billy Bonds is probably been quite harshly done by Harry Redknapp from what I've been led to believe. But at the same time, I've not really heard too much on Redknapp's side of the story. But there you go. Craven, of course, he'd keep us up and play 4-4-2. Possibly. It's no longer about delicate football. It's about survival. I said this on a group chat earlier. We're at a critical stage now where really it's not about how we play. It's not about whether we're a counter-attacking team. It's not about whether we were a possession-based team. It's not about whether we're a team that plays 4 at the back, 3 at the back, 5 at the back, whatever. That's all peripheral stuff. From here on in, and it's been like it for a while, but this defeat has made it even more stark. From here on in, it's about getting results by hook, by crook. Nothing else matters. We have been in the relegation battle all season. Yes, we have. We have pretty much from the get-go, we have been in a relegation battle. We had a little bit of a... Well, I would have used the word renaissance, but it's a renaissance by comparison to where we were after the first 3 games or so. And even that game the first game that we won, which was away at Villa, let's be honest, it was a arsehole lucky goal. It was deflected off of one of the Villa players. Pablo Fornal shot, looped up over Emiliano Martinez. And yeah, we had obviously the results against Fulham and Bournemouth, and I think that took us up to sort of, what was it, 12th at the time, something like that. It wasn't sort of like top of the table. I think it might have been sort of like about the middle reaches of the table. And then from there on in, it's just been sort of like down, down, down. And now we're in the shit. Yeah, no, that's where I'm at, mate. Not a cat in hell's chance. I'm not quite sure what that's referring to. As I say, I'm a good while behind because I've been waffling. Oh my God, no. Big Sam till the end of the season. Again, I'm just a big believer in never go back. So he wouldn't be someone that I'd be gravitating towards personally. Craven, Twitcher has passed it. That would be an embarrassing appointment. May as well get Warnock out of Huddersfield too. The only thing with that, I think if it was a choice between Warnock and Redknapp, if that was, I mean, fucking hell, we'd be in an absolute shitstorm if that was the only two that we could realistically get in. But I think if it was Redknapp or Warnock, it'd be Redknapp for the very simple reason that Neil Warnock has a record of getting teams promoted to the Premier League. He doesn't have a record of keeping teams in the Premier League. So I'm not, like I say, I'm not for 1 minute saying I'd have Redknapp in. I'm just making the point that if it was those two side by side, it would be Redknapp. West Ham faithful, don't worry, everyone. We're still in 16th. Oh, yeah, it's great, isn't it? You know, a team that finished 7th last season, got to a European semi-final, finished the 6th the season before, and in the summer had 180 million quid, and we've pissed it down the fucking drain, and it's so West Ham. Jemima Plum Play School. I think she'd do a better job than fucking Moyes is doing right now, to be perfectly honest with you. If we did go down, the LLDC would lose even more money on the stadium, so surely we'd get the stadium off them. Again, it's a government asset, though, West Ham faithful. From what I'm led to believe, we can't just rock up at number 10 Downing Street or at City Hall and go, here's a barrel load of cash, we'll take the stadium off you. And they go, oh, yes, here's the deeds. I don't think that's how it works because it's a government asset. It legally has to go to tender, and there's no guarantee that we would win the tender process. Zuma will sort that cat out, Andy. Fantastic. Welcome to the Sky Bet Championship. Where we are bound 100%, and I hope you are wrong, Walshy. But at the minute, I am very concerned that is exactly where we are heading. Every team would be up for playing us in the Fizzy Pop League and play better than they usually do. Again, yes, absolutely. Again, another reason why relegation, I don't think, would be as straightforward. Everybody would turn around and go, well, the last couple of times we've come back in a season or two doesn't mean that we're going to. This time, it's a completely different dynamic. The world has moved on, and we are in a 62,000 stadium, and we are not going to attract those middle-class supporters that turn up, get the fucking half and half scarves with the bucket of popcorn and all that bullshit. They're not going to come. This mythical waiting list that Karen Brady keeps telling us about with however many thousand on it, that'll go. You'll be there sitting there in a championship in a half full, half empty stadium, and you'll be sitting there going, what happened to that fucking waiting list? Well, that waiting list fucked off down the road. And they're now going watching, Fulham or something like that. Fucking ridiculous. I don't see where the points and next points are coming from, says Andrew. Me neither, mate. I don't. I've got no idea. Playing Rotherham, the return of Jordan Hugill, finally walking out to those bubbles. Yeah, I suppose it'd be an achievement for him. At least we get to play Millwall in the Championship. No guarantee of that. They might get promoted. I've missed them. The only thing that missed Millwall was the Luftwaffe in World War II, but there you go. And again, Craven makes the point that they may well get promoted as well. So there you go. I went past the Dent today on the way to Twickenham. Hopefully Forest win. And that's a really shit situation when, as I say, when you're actually praying for other teams to win or lose or whatever to suit your team. Fucking hell, we're in a world of hurt if that's where we're at. Fuck's sake. West Ham faithful. Upton Park wasn't always the cathedral. It was a horrible place to go sometimes. Again, I can't disagree with that. There were many times I went to Upton Park and it was flat. But I do think that having 31,000 in a 36,000 stadium is not as soulless an experience as would be if we had 31,000 in a 62,000 seat stadium. That's where I'm at. Facebook user, whoever that is, I'm not going to look on Facebook right now, but whoever it is, thank you for your comment. How Bowen, Souček, and Johnson stayed on the pitch after halftime says a lot about how Moyes. Says a lot about Moyes. The only player I would give a positive rating to would be Ings, as he had no service whatsoever during the game, and he's probably still out there waiting for some service. Who is this geezer chatting to us? It's me, Anton. Remember me? Hello. Just had a little break. No need to panic. Charlie says, we were losing the entire second half and didn't have a single shot on or off target in the half. That's just mental. Absolutely unforgivable. No fight, no determination, just lackluster. From what I can hear, from what I've seen, all of the stats, everything just points to we just fucking waved the white flag. We waved the white flag. I think first goal goes in and they're probably sitting there going, oh, here we go again. Second goal goes in. Oh, no. Third goal goes in. The shoulders get hunched, the head's down, the chin's on their chest. Wayne, hope you're well, mate. He says he's lost him. He said you've lost. He's lost the support of Wayne. He's no longer a supporter of David Moyes. Will Stuart Pearce come and give it a go? Don't suspect he will, my friend. I think that he left for whatever his reasons were. I don't think he's coming back. I don't think he had a particularly great relationship with David Sullivan, so I don't see that Sully's going to pick the phone up and give Stuart Pearce a go. Nolan through his iPad. Yeah, I just say I haven't seen that. I don't know the context behind it. I don't know whether he was frustrated with the players. I don't know whether he was frustrated with Moyes. I really don't know. But yeah, I'll have to sort of gen up on it. But yeah. Cyber Leader. We played better when Moyes was isolating from COVID. Well, that was the Leicester game and the Wolves game when we won 3-0 and 4-0. I know the games you're referring to. Yes, we did. But that was under Alan Irvine, and even he's left the club since. I mean, we've lost Alan Irvine. We've lost Stuart Pearce. We've lost Mark Noble as the club captain. Yes, he's still in the club. He came back on January the 2nd. I know, but yeah. Eastside, hope you're well. Rice can also do one saying that there's experts out there. He must have taken, I saw that quote from Declan Rice being a little bit critical. And I think he's probably been taking lessons from his manager. Because he said a similar thing a little while ago, didn't he? You know, we're all experts. And listen, we're all entitled to an opinion. And especially when you're someone that's paid to go to the Amex, I think you're entitled to an opinion. I think you're entitled to voice your displeasure. I think you're entitled to say, this simply isn't good enough. Up with this, we will not put. Wayne says, stop spending dosh in the European wine bar players who are only using us as a stepping stone. Yeah, well, you know, we are. That is how a lot of these players view us, mate. You're completely right. Eastside says, Moyes is here till the end of the season. I hope you're wrong. But there is a part of me that thinks you're right, regrettably. Cyber Talksport, Gabby Agbonlahor thinks it's time is up for Moyes as well. Now, again, I think that's quite telling, because usually the people in the media are usually like, oh no, Moyes is the man. You know, they're usually quite sort of softly on him, and they don't usually go studs up. But if Agbonlahor's come out and said that, then again, that aligned with the fact that you've got the away fans chanting, you're getting sacked in the morning. Can he survive? Can he get to the Villa game and still be the West Ham manager? I'm not so sure. Mark, hope you're well. Moyes said in a post-match interview, good fans stick by their club, win or lose. He really does not have a clue. Well, he's right. Good fans stick by the club, win or lose. That's fair. But that doesn't necessarily mean to say that they're not going to criticise a team when criticism is justified. Does that mean that when a player doesn't perform well, that, you know, David Moyes is going to stick by the player? No, He's going to turn around and he's going to point out deficiencies in their game and he's going to give them a bollocking. This is no different. Why does he expect for us to sort of like go, oh, well done, old boy. Well done. Jolly well done. No, we're going to turn around and say, mate, this is shit. And we've had it all fucking season. Charlie, could have spent another grand following us over to Cyprus this week, but what's the bloody point? That's the place I'm at the moment, and it's really sad after the last 2 years. Yeah. Yep, you and me both, mate. You and me both. Mark, how can we stick with them when performance has been bad for ages now? Yep, you're absolutely right. Craven, I saw his interview on social media. Bowen has been crap all season and doesn't get taken off. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say all season. He had a little bit of an upturn in his form compared to where he was at the beginning of the season, which was dog shit, let's be completely honest. But he seems to have tapered off again. It seems that he had a little bit of an upsurge, nowhere near where he was last season at all, not even close. And it just seems to have plateaued. But it will be Ben Rama that will be the sacrificial lamb, because it always fucking is. He brings Lanzini and Downs on when we're 3-0 down. Yeah, again, you know, two players that have been chronically underused this season. I really do think that those two are players that can really count themselves unlucky. I mean, Downs especially, I've been so impressed when he's played, really, by and large. I think he's been a real breath of fresh air in the middle of the park. But for whatever reason, just Moyes seems to always favour Thomas Souček over him. It's you know, it's almost as if Thomas Souček's his son-in-law. I don't know what's going on. Wayne comes in and says, we need a manager that can make tactical changes on the fly. Frankly, I would be happy for anyone other than Moyes. Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at, mate. Anyone but Moyes. And as I say, I made the example of Erik ten Hag a little earlier. We go 1-0 up against Manchester United at Old Trafford on Wednesday night in the FA Cup. And the moment the ball hit the back of that net, Ten Hag was making changes. We go 1-0 down in a game. Do you see Moyes doing that? The cunt waits until fucking 65, 70 minutes, regular as clockwork. It's absolutely ridiculous. East side, why didn't Scamacca come on after half time? Should have played up front with Ings, who had zero service. Then you would have had two strikers that would have been standing there getting no service, I would suggest, with respect to East side. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the answer would have been. I think that, from what I understand, Thomas Souček in the middle of the park didn't offer that much. I think I would have possibly brought on either Lanzini or Downs, someone that's capable of doing something a little bit different. You know, I don't know. I don't know. Change things up, but he changes it when it's too late. There won't be a new manager bounce if a new manager isn't an outsider. Quite possibly. How you doing, Lucas? Hope you are well. It worked at Dagenham and Redbridge, the second team I support. They sacked John Steele, went back for him every two managers after. Doesn't mean to say it's going to work here. It's a completely different dynamic in the Premier League, I would suggest, with respect to Cyber. I'd take Rafa till the end of the season. He'll win us the Conference League. Don't see that Rafa's going to come on a short-term deal. Really don't. I think he will come, from what I understand, 3.5 years or no. Hell no to Paul Ince. Any of the Nolans to do better at this stage? Yeah, you know it. The Nolan sisters, absolutely. The Scamacca situation is a strange one, says Charlie. Been on the bench a couple of games now, and this whole his agent dropping him so publicly in the week just stinks of something bad in the background, in my opinion. Do you think that maybe, I don't know, because his old man, he was the one that smashed up someone's car with a golf club or something like that back in Italy, wasn't it? Am I misremembering that? I'm sure maybe the agent got his car smashed up by Scamacca's dad. Obviously holding Macca back for Europe. Maybe, but I just think that if you've got a £35 million striker on the bench and you're losing a game and you need goals and you need to turn it around, you need to change the momentum, use him for fuck's sake. Why have you spent 35 million on the geezer and he's getting splinters in his ass? Doris the tea lady would be better than Moyes at this moment. I think anyone would be better than Moyes. I really do. The rumours smoke Skamaka wanting to leave is probably true. Why he isn't playing gets you thinking. Paul says it will be Warburton, the bread man. Peter, Maka won't be here even if we stayed up. Probably not. Paul Nicklin, hello, hope you're well, mate. Warburton and Nolan, ex-managers, can run the team until the end of the season, but Moyes must go now. Again, it wouldn't be something that I would ordinarily think would be a great idea, but I do think I'm probably at the point where it's now, if it's Moyes or anyone but Moyes, it's probably anyone but Moyes territory for me now. Warburton and Nolan have zero Premier League experience as managers, but I think that clearly what we've got at the minute isn't working, so something needs to change. We need to try something. If we try something and it fails and we go down, I think so be it, because at the minute I think we're going down anyway. You might be right, Eastside. Not sure what's, but something definitely amiss with him. Yep, absolutely. Who's watching Match of the Day? No, I'm talking to you, matey. Melkstar, hope you are well. Who's the vice captain? Because it looks like Rice is not being backed up by anyone. Well, officially, the vice captain from memory is Aaron Cresswell. And I think that the third captain is then Angelo Ogbonna. So yeah, obviously it was today then therefore would have been Ogbonna, but I don't know, mate. You need more than one. Do you know what I mean? You need to have a few strong characters in the team. You know, you can't just rely on one or two to carry you through. I really don't think so. Paul says they all had their day. Give it to Nolan as a caretaker. Peter says, good to see we don't concede 3s and 4s anymore. Oh, hold on a minute. Usual suspect says, please not Warburton. He couldn't run a bath. He can make a nice loaf of bread, though. Wayne, Moyes lost the dressing room when Noble left. May well have a point there, my friend. The cat reference was to 60,000 fans in the stadium in the championship. Fair dues. Luke, hope you are well. 2 away wins in 20 league games. A very damning statistic. You forgot the new prime drink. Oh, don't. Crap. No more parachute payments. I'm not too sure if that's been confirmed. I've heard various different versions of this. I've heard some people saying that there's no more parachute payments. I've heard people saying no, it's still being discussed. I don't know. Hodgson it is. Oh, for fuck's sake. Eric, yeah, he was awful. Absolutely awful. False news at current. Usual suspect says Charlie. Eastside Views. Yeah, I saw that. I was in the. I was outside the ground at Twickenham, and I saw that pop up on my phone that said that Brighton had 300 passes in the first half, and we had 69. Normally, that's a number I like, but not on this occasion. Charlie, not saying by you, but that rumour seems to be doing the rounds, and no new plan for relegation finances has been confirmed yet. Wayne, my 11-year-old said we would lose 3-0. She got it all wrong. I hope you stop her pocket money for at least a month. Hope you well, Chris. It would appear so. The Pope likes God, I hear, Eric. Fair point. Fair point. Craven Pray Nolan has insurance on his iPad. I think he can afford another one, in fairness, Eastside. Eric comes back and says, okay, thanks. Just a bit frustrated again with Moyes and you. Yeah, I think you can probably take it as read, Eric, that probably the overwhelming majority of people you're going to encounter in the live chat are pretty frustrated with Mr. David Moyes. I'm just going to really quickly, because I did actually have a poll running on the channel where I asked the question, will David Moyes be West Ham manager for our next Premier League match? It's not asking should he, it's asking whether you think he will be. And 62 if you think he will be. Jesus Christ. I thought it would I thought it would be a lot worse than that. I thought it would be the majority of you guys would think that it would be that he'd get the tin. But the majority of you think that he's still going to be West Ham manager. I hope you're all wrong. I seriously do, but I think you might be right. I feel like you man hurt. You can have Rodgers, mate. he'd probably play more progressive football than Moyes is playing. It would at least be something. Honestly, our football's been dog shit, mate. I'd take him over. Yeah. And even Peter says the same thing in the next comment. And you're right, we must win our next home match. No ifs or buts. The only thing is it's against an Aston Villa team that since Emery's walked through the door seems to have found a little bit of form. And I'm not overly confident. I'm really not, especially not on the back of that. I don't really see how you can look at that performance and take anything out of it other than you just look at the next fixture and go, how are we fucking beating them? What is it you can take out of a 4-0 away defeat, a capitulation, an absolute waving of the white flag, dereliction of duty, and all the rest of it? How on earth can you take a positive out of that and look at that next game and go, but we're going to get something against Aston Villa? Really? Peter says, yeah, he'd take Rodgers over Moyes. Wayne comes in, says, doing well, thanks, mate. Always a hammer, but us English fans in the USA having to educate the new fans. Keep the claret and blue flag flying high, my friend. Charlie says, would snap your hands off. Yes, absolutely. And he comes in, says, you're welcome to him. Fair enough. Moyes has a job for life, says Luke. Breaking news. Probably something we already knew, sadly. Moyes is no expert, doesn't know how to use his bench. Mate, that's been glaringly obvious pretty much his entire time as West Ham manager. Even when we finished 6th and 7th, I don't really remember too many times where he made a substitution that changed the match. Probably the only one I can immediately think of off the top of my head where you could probably say, no, that substitution changed the match in our favour. The only one I can think of is when Yarmolenko came off the bench last season. We played, was it Villa or was it Everton? It was one of those two, and he got the goal, didn't he? And it was just after the war in Ukraine started, and he sort of burst into tears, blah, blah, blah. That's the only time I can really act. I'm sure there's others. Someone will probably say, no, there was this game. Fine. But that's the only one that immediately I could go, no, that was a substitution that changed the game for our sort of favour. But other than that, they're just the same old substitutions, mate. It's the same old substitutions you could probably write down before the game's kicked off. You could probably look at the team sheet an hour before kickoff, look at the starting 11, look at the substitutes bench, and go, round about the 60th, 65th, 70th minute, he will make a substitution. He'll bring that player on for that player, and he'll bring that player on for that player. He might bring on that player for that player. Unlikely to get to the 4th substitution. You're not going to see a 5th substitution unless you got injuries. He is pissing everyone off at the club. This is just like watching my own post-match show. It's not good. It's not good, my friend. It really isn't. And obviously your result today, yeah, Southampton, fucking hell. They get turned over by Grimsby, who make their first FA Cup quarter-final in, 84 years? And in a couple of days, they beat Leicester. Peter, can see us losing at least another 5 or 6 games would take us to 19, 20 losses. That is absolutely awful. Luke says he's going to listen to Leonard Cohen to cheer himself up. Don't open your veins up, for fuck's sake. Honestly, I've never liked Moyes, and Rob can back me up on that. No, you haven't, A-side. That is absolutely true. You've never been a Moyes fan. Leading down should have come on at the half, but with Moyes leading us, it wouldn't have worked anyway. Nah, probably not, mate. He could have probably brought Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, and Diego Maradona on in their primes, and we'd have probably still found a way to lose it, because he'd have probably played one in goal. He probably played one at left back and the other one at right back. So we're third on match of the day. Only reason for that is for the comedy value, mate. That's the only reason. Trying something with his assistants and failing would be better than doing sweet FA. Yeah, that's pretty much where I'm at, mate. Anyone but Moyes at the minute, that's where I'm at. But I just have a funny feeling that David Sullivan probably knows in his heart of hearts that he should, but will he? I'm not 100% sure either way, mate. I think that the supporters turning on him today could be something of a seminal moment, but I don't know. Is David Sullivan clever enough to recognise that? I don't know. Eamon, hope you're well. Captain isn't no good if the team isn't together. Seen that for weeks. We've been bullied by other teams for months, and it's only been the last game where one player stuck up for another. Yeah, you need to see a little bit more battling for each other, don't you? This is the first time in years I'm not hearing anyone blaming Sullivan and Brady. Hate them anyway. Oh no, I think there's a good few people that do blame the hierarchy. But at the minute, I think that the Moyes is carrying the can at the moment. I mean, one thing you can't really say is that he didn't get backed in the summer, Wayne. He did. He got backed and he's spunked it all up the wall. Pete, you don't want to see how Whooper makes golden bagels. Jesus Christ. Eamon, Sullivan and Brady should go with Moyes. Moyes is their sword. They have stuck by him like they did Grant, so they should fall on it. Steve, most of us want Moyes out, but will he go? Doubt it. I hope he does, mate. I hope he does. If he had any integrity, he'd know that he's out of his depth. He'd know that the fans don't want a bit of him. He'd know that the players are clearly not giving him a shift, and he'd fuck off. The problem is that doesn't really happen for a Premier League manager, do they? Because if they walk away from their multi-million-pound, multi-year contract, they get fuck all. Much better to get sacked then, right? And we get our contract paid up. Cynical? Yeah, but probably accurate. Pete, next 3 Premier League games, all at home. Villa, Southampton, Newcastle. Right. Villa and Newcastle. Southampton, that is a must win. That's a relegation 6-pointer right there. I think, how many points are we getting from that? At the minute, you know what? I'm not even sure we beat Southampton. I'm really not. I don't know, mate. I mean, we could conceivably play those 3 games and get 0. We could conceivably get 9. I mean, that's the thing, is that West Ham, we're so unpredictable. We won't get 9. We could, but we won't. On the basis of today, I think that if you turned around and said, on the basis of today's performance, how many points do you think we'll get? I don't think we'll get anything against Villa. I think that Southampton could be 3 points. Newcastle have stuttered a little bit of late, but I still think that they're probably going to beat us. I think that possibly best case scenario, realistically, is probably 3 points. FPL Hayden, hope you're well, mate. So sad to see what's happened to you this season. Hopefully you stay up and we play you in the Prem next season. Yeah, well, we'll see what happens, mate. I mean, you know, it's still a lot of football to be played, but at the minute we're going down the gurgler and we're going there fast. The last game of the season is getting more interesting by the week. Yes, and of course, if you weren't aware, we're playing Leicester on the last game. That could be a game. You know, it could be one of those winner stays up scenarios. What was it? David Pleat, Luton going to Main Road, Man City, and he did that fucking dance on the pitch. 2 keepers, only 8 subs, says it all. Yeah, not exactly inspiring bench, is it? And yet we spent 180 fucking million pounds in the summer beefing up the squad. 2 keepers, 8 subs. That was what we had last season, wasn't it? So we've spent 180 million quid to not move forward at all in that regard. Glad I'm not back in England, says Wayne. I would be saving my pound coins for the Children's box next home match. Yeah, they'd be picking him up, though. They'd be picking him up, tight bastards. At least if Marshall had a go, he would give 100%. You're right. Absolutely. Forgot about that. My backside is trembling already, says Charlie. Moyes has no integrity. He refused to walk when he got Sunderland relegated. And they had to keep paying his salary for years. As I say, he's not alone. That just seems to be, I can't remember the last time I heard that, you know, ex-Premier League manager has walked away from Y Premier League club. No, they all get sacked. Sacked will be tomorrow, according to Craven. We'll see what happens, mate. I mean, he could be. I hope he is now. And I say that I still have a little bit part of my heart where I'm like, I feel quite bad for saying it, but it's like, look, David Moyes has done a great job for West Ham in terms of sixth place, seventh place European semi-final. Maybe not in terms of the style of football for a lot of it. But right now, a Premier League manager is judged on two criteria generally: results and their transfer business. Well, both of them this season have been absolutely dog shit. Match of the day, can't believe fans were singing "You're getting sacked in the morning." No idea. You're right, Paul. You're right. I mean, fucking hell, we've bottom end of the Premier League. We've spent all that money in the summer. As I say, it's not beefed up our bench any. It's the same as last season. Two goalkeepers and we're a sub light. We're getting beat 4-0 away from home, not by Real Madrid, by fucking Brighton, who we haven't beaten in 10, 11 years. And we're singing "You're getting sacked in the morning," and Match of the Day are going, "Oh, I can't believe you're doing that." How many fucking games have you watched this season, you bunch of fucking wankers? Charlie, I think we need 5+ from those 3 games. Oh, gee, I think we need 7, mate. No, 7. I think we need 10. 10 from the 3. There you go. Horrible. Mubama and Marshall, why are they not on the bench? And Skulls, yeah, I agree. But the reason they're not on the bench is probably the same reason as to why we're in the shit and why we're having this conversation. And it's David Moyes. He doesn't trust the youth. He really doesn't. Didn't we beat Leicester to 5 before when Noble hit that volley from 15 yards? Yes. I think it was a bit further than 15 yards. He was outside the box from memory. But I know the game you're talking about. It was towards the end of the season. It was under... Was that under Moyes? I'm trying to remember. It may well have been. But yeah, I know the game you're talking about. Dipping volley past Kasper Schmeichel. Moyes is so arrogant, didn't even clap the fans, just went straight down the tunnel. Absolutely. I think Mandy's 25. I think is she correcting the 15 yards? Yeah, probably. 15 wins in 52 league games. Again, complete dog shit, mate. Especially when you consider what he spent in the summer. I need a manager's job, says Wayne. Do F all and get paid for pissing in the wind. Lovely jubbly. Money for jam, my friend. Money for jam. Mandy, you are brave, I think you might mean. Brave watching Match of the Day. Yep, okay. I'm not going to bother, mate. I've seen the goals and it's like I can see the stats. We offered fuck all. Why would I want to depress myself? If Moyes hasn't trusted his defence all this time, says Eamon, hence why in previous game he's kept it tight and been very defensively, quotes unquote, why didn't he concentrate on spending the £180 million on the defence? You very may well ask that. Alan Shearer slated David Moyes on Match of the Day, says Hammer89. Ooh, another media personality that's finally coming out and saying that David Moyes has got to go. Is it starting to turn? Are the scales starting to do a little bit of that? Who knows? Scott comes in, says, no chance he will be sacked, unfortunately. There's no time for sentimental treatment. Fulham reached a Europa League final. Leicester won the league. It's been clear he needed to go 3 months ago. 100% agree with you, mate. 100% agree. The only person that couldn't see it, regrettably, for whatever reason, was David Sullivan. Instead of over... Oh, yes, continuation of your previous statement. Yeah, cheers, Eamon. Thank you. When Cornet returns, Benny will hit the bench. Yeah, and then Cornet will get an injury, and then he'll probably be out for the rest of the season, and then Moyes will have to turn to Benny and try and get him going, but probably by then Benny will be like, nah, fuck off, mate. Which I wouldn't blame him for. Isai says he's Algerian and he thinks that Cornet is better. Different skill sets. I would say that in terms of their pace, obviously Cornet wins out there. I think that their trickery on the ball, their general skill level, I'd probably say Ben Rama's got the edge there. Different animals. Eamon says, we scored enough goals last season. Scoring wasn't our problem. This season, it has been. Yet we spent over £100 million on attack. Moyes should be sacked just for that. Yeah, I mean, look at it. He spent, what was it, 35 million quid on Skamaka. He spent 15 million quid on Ings. He spent 17 million quid, I believe, on Cornet. Pissed it away. Poor due diligence. I mean, there was all this bullshit about the Moyes MOT. Do you remember that? The Moyes MOT. Oh, yeah. It's really worked well on some of these fucking players, hasn't it? Well done. Who is Cornet? You might well ask, Paul. You might well ask. I like to go to bed and think something positive. At least Gold didn't have to tweet about this poor old sod. There you go. Gatesy, if you and Duke had a fallout, I very much doubt it. I was in his pub 2 days ago, and I was communicating with him yesterday on WhatsApp. So very much doubt it. No. In answer to your question, the answer is no. Eamon, £50 million on Pac-Man. Yeah, Paqueta. Polarizing figure, I find. I think there's some fans that can see that he's starting to get into Premier League football and he's started to acclimatise and he's got good touches, blah, blah, blah. I know other fans that are just like, nah, not for me. Not for me. Two very different players, in my opinion. I take it you're referring to the comparison between Cornet and Ben Rama. Yeah, they are for me. They're very much different players. Shearer not on tonight was right, and Baldy. Baldy, you mean Danny Murphy? Is that the one you took? I have to say, it's on over there, but I'm not interested. Where have you been, mate? We've missed you. I've been around. I've just had other things to do. Life gets in the way. You know, I'm a working father. I've got a family. I've got a job, and you know, sometimes you just need to step away, reset, go again. Nothing more, nothing less. Eamon, attacking player, 15 million quid. Hammer, that was on Claret and Hugh Paul about Shearer. Okay, interesting. Mandy G, did we need to spend that on Paquetá when we had centre backs leaving and useless wing backs? Yeah, I agree. I mean, I do think that we had very similar players to Paquetá that you know, were already at the club. And whether you think they're as good or not as good or whatever, but Fornals is a very similar player. Lanzini's a very similar player. Did we need Lucas Paquetá? I don't think so. I think you've got a point. I think that maybe we should have spent it on other areas, but obviously that's now done. Paquetá, right? Okay, yeah. So okay, got it. Either pronunciation, he's been a major disappointment. I'm told it's Paquetá. That's what I'm being told. I'd put Cornet in for Bowen at this point. Yeah, I'd agree. And keep Benny on the right. Yeah, I would, but do you think he will? I think that Benny will be the sacrificial lamb, mate. I think you know it and I know it. I'd be very surprised if he drops Bowen. Thank you, mate. Appreciate it. Paul, Murphy is right. Can't stand him. Fair enough, mate. Danny Murphy, poor man's Alan Shearer, but then after Shearer's wages, there isn't money left in steps down. Murphy. And he does bits on TalkSport as well, so you know he needs a few bob. Clearly didn't earn enough in his playing career. Epic says we didn't need Paquetá, but it was probably an opportunity that the board didn't want to miss when he became available. But if you don't need it, it's a bit like sort of me going out and pissing money away on a fancy pair of trainers that actually I don't need, because the trainers that I've got might not be this flash brand, this flash model of trainers that this £500 pair of trainers is. This 50 quid pair of trainers is perfectly acceptable. But I'll go and spend 500 quid on that pair of trainers that I don't actually, it's just complete bollocks, you know. It's like it's just a vanity project, mate. We didn't need Paquetá. We've got him. I hope he does well. I think he's adjusted to the Premier League a little bit more over the past couple of games. I'm seeing that he's started to acclimatise. I still think there's more to come, but whether he will be in the Premier League, whether we will be in the Premier League by the time next season starts is another matter. I certainly don't think he'll be around in the Championship. I really don't, along with an absolute raft of other players that will probably be on their toes if we go down the trapdoor. Wayne comes in, says Cornet was the only bright spark this season until the injury, but he would outplay Bowen. Chris, nice to have you back, mate. ATB and chin up. Chat soon. Thank you very much, my friend. Mandy comes back in and says they probably figured that they couldn't lose money on Pac-Man unless we get relegated. That's exactly what's going to happen, though, isn't it? As things stand at the minute, I know we're not in the bottom three, but it's all about momentum. And isn't it funny? Last week we won 4-0 and the momentum was like that, and everything in the garden was rosy, and the birds were singing in the trees, the sky was blue, and we had the hat on the side of our head, and we was walking along, cock of the walk. 4-0 defeat. Oh my fucking Christ. Yeah. This is just typical West Ham, isn't it? Win one game 4-0, lose the next game 4-0. Fuck me. Paquetá was a Silkman deal. Yeah, Barry Silkman, the player agent. Yeah, fair enough, mate. Like I say, I don't think that he was a signing we needed to make. I think that there were other areas where we had a more pressing need than central mid. I think we had other players that stylistically were very, very similar to Lucas Paquetá. You could make the argument that, oh no, but he's better than them. Maybe, but stylistically, he's not too dissimilar from, like I say, Lanzini, Fornals, players that we already had, we could utilise. If we go down, says Mandy, we still have to make second payments on all those new signings. Yeah, like I say, absolute catastrophe if we went down, mate, in all sorts of aspects. In all sorts of aspects. Did you see the Tartsek next to Sullivan today? She was tidy. Is that his bird? Yeah, she's what, late 30s, early 40s. I wonder what she sees in a sort of guy in his mid 70s who happens to be a billionaire. No idea. I'm sure it's just that they've got a shared love of, I don't know, Lionel Richie or something like that. I don't know. Eamon, I think Newcastle will come in for Paquetá and Skamaka at the end of the season, and I don't think we will get 80 million for the pair. You're damn right we won't. Those two definitely won't stick around in the Championship if we go down, along with a good few others. I think that, right, let's look at it. Who of the signings that came in the summer will still be with us if we go into the Championship? Right. Alphonse Areola, what's he? He's our highest paid player, I think, isn't he? He's on 140k a week or something like that. He's a World Cup winner. He's a France international. Is he going to stick around? No, I really can't see that he will. I mean, he didn't stick around at Fulham, did he? I know he was on loan at Fulham when they got relegated to the Championship a couple of seasons ago, and he was the goalkeeper when they was in the Premier League then. I know that it was a slightly different dynamic, but he didn't stay with Fulham in the Championship. He's not going to stay with us. I think Emerson will go. I think Skamaka will go. I think Cornet will go like he did when Burnley got relegated. I think Paqueta will go. Downs will stay, I think, because he's obviously a West Ham player and he knows the terrain of the Championship. So I think that of the signings that we signed last season, you'll probably find that Downs will stay. But I don't really see that an awful lot of the others will. I think that it will be just, they'll all probably have relegation clauses in their contracts that will say that if we get relegated, and a club comes in with X amount of pounds, then there's a release clause and they can fuck off. And that will be what happens. Wayne, Lanzini doesn't have much left in the tank, so maybe Paquetá wasn't a bad deal. What do you think now? Do you think that he's a bad deal now, given things? That's his wife, Hammer, says Charlie. Yeah, I mean, are they married? I've got no idea. I know they was engaged, wouldn't they? But yeah, she's sort of like 30, 40 years younger. I don't know what she sees in him. Oh, hang on. Maybe I do. You probably do too. Skamaka should be starting with Ings. Yeah, why not? Let's play two strikers. I mean, I think, our problem all season has been scoring goals. You looked at our goals against Column and you at least turned around and said, oh, well, we're pretty tight, but we've just conceded 4. We conceded 3 the other night against Manchester United. So we're not even keeping clean sheets too regularly now. Play two strikers. What's the worst that could happen? For fuck's sake. I bet he won't, will he? He'll play Danny Ings. He'll keep Jared Bowen on the right wing, and he'll fuck Benny onto the bench. He'll fuck him off. Yeah, totally fucking uninspiring, my friend. Paul comes in, says, just need a manager who can reap their potential. Hammer comes in, says, I heard he left his missus for a new woman. Yeah, no, well, it was Jack and David Jr.'s mum that he elbowed, and I'm sure it was all amicable. And he's got some new bird that he's shacked up with. So yeah, I mean, look, good luck to the fella. It's nothing to do with me. James, hope you're well, mate. One step forward, two step back. This is West Ham in a nutshell. You know it. Wayne comes in, says she sees his crotch, mate. Oh dear. Cheers, mate. Appreciate it. Hammer89 saying hello and James reciprocating. Kara, Ariola, Emerson, Cornet. Yeah, I'm taking you're on about the players that they'll all be out, wouldn't they? Duke, you're looking particularly attractive tonight. That's because it's not Duke, it's Rob. Hello. Long time no see, word and pictures. Hope you are well. Ings, yeah, he possibly will. Although I don't know, maybe at his stage of his career, I don't know. But then again, having said that, again, he's one of the top paid players now, isn't he? I think he's on about 120, 140, whatever it is. Hammer comes in, says the way Downs has been treated by Moyes. If I was him, I'd be off. I think because he's a West Ham fan, I think because he knows the Championship, and I think that in all likelihood, if we get relegated to the Championship next season, Moyes won't be a consideration for Flynn Downs. I think I could see Flynn Downs staying. Depends on the manager that replaces him, though, I suppose. I can name 5 players who be there: Downs, Ogbonna, Johnson, Benrahma, Fabianski. You on about if we get? I nearly said when. I did say when. If we get relegated, which we will do if we keep losing fucking games 4-0. Fabianski, I mean, he'll be 38 by then. Fucking hell. Oh, Peter, I won't get top dollar for Rice if we go down. Lucky to get 35. No, I think we get more than that, mate. I think we get more than that, but I think we can kiss goodbye to all this bullshit about, we want north of 120 million plus add-ons as a championship club. You are not in a strong bargaining position, my friend. We ain't getting that. We're not getting that. Epic comes in, says 4 nows. Charlie, yeah, that's the new one. I'm sure they've tied the knot already. She had to tie down that money. You know it. Is Cornet fit? Saw more of Crow. He played yesterday, didn't he? He played for the under-21s as part of his comeback. Didn't he play the first 45 minutes and then came off? He didn't come off, from what I'm led to believe, because of an injury or anything like that. He came off because it was like, we're just going to give you a run around for a first 45 minutes, get some miles in you, and take you off. But yeah, saw more of Crow. Yeah, it's yeah, and I still think that the Alex Crow thing last season, where he was going with car and crying or screaming or whatever it was, I do think that was something that shined a light on how David Moyes treats players, which I don't think reflected very well on him. But there you go. Have you seen her up close? She isn't tidy. Probably not when she sort of wakes up first thing in the morning, when all the slaps sort of been taken off and the beer goggles worn off. Probably not. But I'm no oil painting either, so what do I know? Do they have to be E20? I think I'd rather just let them go. Bat Downs and Benny aside. Eamon comes in, said there's about 7 players out of contract at the end of the season. Yeah, there is. There's quite a few. I mean, we did a lot of surgery in the summer. Not that it's done us any good, as I said earlier, but we're going to have to, well, we got one or two choices. We either do some transfer business or we put some faith in the youth coming through. Well, I don't really see that if this manager's in harness next season, whether we're Premier League or Championship club, if we've got David Moyes, can you see him bringing any players through from the under-21s or the under-18s? Because I can't. There's nothing there that suggests in his past. Everybody goes on about, Wayne Rooney. That was over 20 years ago. Name me, another player that he brought for. Oh, Adnan Januzaj. Right. Okay. Anyone else? Now you're struggling. A player that he, A, brought through into the first team, and B, once they were there, nurtured them, kept them there, developed them, and all the rest of it. Can't really think of too many. Can't think of too many. There's about 7 players. Basically, like Notts Forest buying 36 players, but for the championship, less money for any freebies. Yeah. If my missus looks like that when I'm 80, I'm doing something right. That's a fair point you make there, Charlie. What attracted you to the multi-millionaire David Sullivan, says Luke. That was that question. That was Mrs. Merton, wasn't it, to Debbie McGee? What attracted you to the multi-millionaire Paul Daniels? Can't think. Great banter as always, mate. We move on and laugh at how shite we are. Gotta love us. You're right, Wayne. Listen, you, me, everybody in the live chat. The problem is that whichever division we're in, whether it's the Championship, whether it's the Premier League, whether it's the Beezer Homes League. That's one for the teenagers. The Beezer Homes League. Whichever division we're in, we'll still support them. We'll still call them shit when they play shit, like we did today. But they're your team, and that's all there is to it. Ogbonna and Fabianski need shipping out, relegated or not. I agree. I think that they've been fantastic servants for the club, but all things must pass. Everything has a sell-by date, and you can't be sentimental. You've got to be quite cold and business-like, because it is a business. I know it's a sport, but it is a business as well. It's a multi-million-pound business, and you can't have passengers. You just can't. Downs is so average. Not too sure what the clamour is for him. Oh, I disagree with respect. I disagree, and so does Hammer89. He says he's better than Souček. Yeah, I think he is better than Souček. That's because Moyes is playing him out of position whenever he plays. Yeah, and a prime example was that, and I was there, the league game against Manchester United at Old Trafford earlier this season. He played Flynn Downs in a 4-2-3-1. He played him and the number 10 position, which is not a position that he plays. He did his best. He performed quite admirably, to be perfectly honest, even despite the fact he was playing in a position that was quite alien to him. But yeah, I like Downs. I think he's a good player. I think you're being a bit harsh, Luke, to be fair. Downs will be captain when we go down. Bye-bye, Rice. Yeah, he may well be. Downs is a number 6, not a number 10. You're absolutely right. He played number 10, as I say, in that game at Old Trafford, but it's not his favourite position. It's not really where you're going to get the best out of him. Eamon comes in. Cornet ate too many croissants in France, supposedly unfit. It's not a racist stereotype. It's what do they call it? I can't remember now. I can't remember. It's some sort of stereotype, isn't it? I ate croissants or snails or frog's legs or something like that. Downs' quality. Need to see more of him. Yeah, we do. I'm just not convinced we're going to see more of him in the Premier League under this manager. I think he's a very good player. I think he's better than David Moyes thinks he is. Peter comes in, says Downs wish he'd signed for Palace when he had the chance. Yeah, that was the story, wasn't it? That he was all set to sign for Patrick Vieira, all set to sign for Crystal Palace, and then he heard of the interest from his boyhood club, West Ham United. And I get it, I'd be doing the same thing if I was in his shoes. I'd be, West Ham are interested. Give me the pen. I get it, but I think that now probably, he probably does look back and go, I'm not so sure I did the right move there. Rooney even said that Moyes held him back. That's why he left Everton. If another manager had been there, he would have stayed. Yeah, I mean, look, I don't think he'd have stayed at Everton for the rest of his career any more than I think Declan Rice will stay at West Ham for the rest of his. But yeah, I actually did a recording a little while ago about that because it was an interview on Toffee TV, if I remember correctly, the YouTube channel where Wayne Rooney turned around and said that he felt he was being held back in the day. So yeah, like I say, he doesn't have really a track record of bringing a player into the first team for one thing, and then having given them their debut, keeping them there and nurturing them. Like I say, there's 2 players that I can immediately think of, and they are Wayne Rooney and Adnan Januzaj. And even Adnan Januzaj, actually, when I stop and think about it, Moyes was gone very shortly after that, so I'm not even too sure that I could count him as a player that he gave a debut to and nurtured and turned into a first-team player. So probably not even Adnan Januzaj meets that criteria. Probably the only one. I'm probably back to Wayne Rooney, aren't I? Joan, good to see you, Gatesy. We'll watch back what I've missed. Terrible disappointment today. Hope you're well, Joan. Nice to see you. Thanks for your nice words. Absolute Pony today says, Martin, will Moyes get the boot? He should. He absolutely should, Martin, on the basis of that performance alone, where it was just everybody that I know that's seen it with their own eyes has turned around and said it was a shambolic, disorganized performance that was lacking in any courage, spirit, fight, determination at all. I think on that basis alone, in my opinion, that's a sackable offence in a Premier League manager. National stereotype. That's the one. Words and pictures. Thank you very much. But will he get the boot, Martin? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. There's part of me that thinks he will because the away fans turned on him, and I think once you lose the away fans, you've got a problem. But we'll see. I mean, it may well be that he gets a stay of execution quite simply because David Sullivan doesn't believe that there's anybody out there that's better than David Moyes. So it's a case of, well, I'll stick with what I've got, which I think is a bit of a coward's way out myself. But there you go. Hammer89 comes in, says 4-4-2 next game if the new manager is in. Well, we'll see what happens there, mate. Areola, Kufal, Zuma, Aguirre, Emerson, Ben Rama, Rice, Downs, Cornet, Skamaka, Ings. So let me just read that again. So Kufal, Zuma, Aguirre, Emerson, back four. And then I'm guessing you're going... So I'm guessing you're going left, Ben Rama left, Rice and Downs central, Cornet on the right, Skamaka and Ings. I like that. That's got a bit of pace with Cornet. You've got the defensive midfield solidity of Downs, which would then release Rice to be able to make his runs forward, I guess. Skamaka and Ings. Yeah, I like that. Jordan Hugill, says Luke. No. Wayne comes in, says Johnson, the other player Moyes has brought through, not impressed. Yeah, he brought him through, didn't give him his debut though. So he ticks one box, doesn't tick the other box because Pellegrini gave him his debut away at Man City. Fergie gave Januzaj his debut, didn't he? No, he didn't. No, it was definitely David Moyes. It was definitely David Moyes because I remember when he gave him his debut and David Moyes was interviewed as Manchester United manager. He had this sort of like this really sort of cat that got the cream look on his mush, like he was some sort of fucking super manager. Yeah, that went well for him, didn't it? Anyway, Craig Dawson, remember him, ladies and gentlemen. What you wouldn't give for Craig Dawson today, because I tell you what, I don't think that. I'm not saying we would have won. I'm not saying we would have even got a point, but I tell you what, we wouldn't have lost that game the way that we did today if Craig Dawson had been playing at the back. Words and pictures. To be fair, some national stereotypes are proven true by study. Brits drink a lot of tea. Yeah, now that is a fair point. Gatesy, thoughts on the fans turning on Moyes today and charting at him? My thoughts are, you probably missed this at the beginning. My thoughts are that once the away fans turn on a manager, like what I've heard, singing, you're getting sacked in the morning, singing to the players, you're not fit to wear the shirt. I think once that happens, and they are the last ones to go, they are the most loyal. The ones that go to away games, those fans are the most loyal of our supporter base. The home fans are a little bit more flaky, and I'm one of them, so I know. The home fans are a little bit more flaky. The away support, the hardcore fans that go to all the away games are a little bit more patient. Once they have been lost, I think he's on borrowed time. The only question is David Sullivan asleep at the switch? And will that be why he gets a stay of execution? Xenophobia is the word you're looking for, I think. When you make a derogatory comment about a person, country, or stereotype, them eating a food from their country, LOL. Yeah, you're probably right. Xenophobia will do. Xenophobia, national stereotype, whatever. The point about Cornet earlier, whoever it was that said about he eats too many croissants and that's why he's injured. Whatever. And lager. And lager. We drink a lot of tea and we drink a lot of lager. You're absolutely right. Worst performance on and off the pitch I've seen since Avram Grant days. No question here. Yeah, the heady days of Avram Grant. Whatever happened to him? Brr. Mickey, hope you're well. Did you not listen to what Wayne Rooney said about Moyes? No way can you imagine Moyes. Can you say Moyes shaped him? Not well. He allowed him the platform of first team games. What you can say, whether you can say that he nurtured him as a player, like I say, whatever. There's other coaches that would have been involved around David Moyes at that time. But the only player that I can say ticks that David Moyes can say he ticked two boxes with, that he A, gave a debut to, and B, gave them a volume of games in the first team where they became a first team regular. That's the only one I can think of. There might be others that I've just forgotten about, but I think, yeah, I mean, to sort of like that, and that's why I look and go, this is not a manager that has any faith in youth and exuberance. This is a guy that sort of like, oh no, I'll go with the experience, I'll go with the tried and tested, and that's not always the right option. Usual suspects are now reporting that Moyes retains the full support of the board despite the heavy loss today. Oh, well, he's going to be in against Villa then, isn't he? He's going to be in against Villa. I like that lineup, but play 4-3-3. I take it you're on about the 4-4-2 formation. Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's interchangeable. You could move one of the wide midfielders, either Cornet or Benrahma, to play alongside Ings and Scamacca. You could rotate them, change the problems. 1 minute you could have Benrahma slotting in alongside and then drop him back and put in Cornet, and you could sort of like alter the sort of like the problems that the position defenders are facing. In 1 minute they're facing a tricky player in Benrahma, the next minute they're facing a quick player in Cornet. Where's that on? Asks Hammer 89 of Charlie. Moyes has ruined every club he's managed. Don't know about every. Everton. I mean, when he walked through the door at Everton, did he leave Everton in a better place than when he found them? I would say that is unarguable. Did he leave Preston in a better place than when he found them? I think he probably did. Probably. Did he leave Manchester United in a better place? No. Did he leave Sociedad in a better place? No. Did he leave Sunderland in a better place? No. Is he going to leave West Ham in a better place? At the minute, I think if he leaves, he will leave West Ham. If he left today, he'd probably leave West Ham in exactly the same spot as he found them, more or less. Maybe a couple of places up, down, whatever, but it's there or thereabouts. We had a nice little bit in between, but then it's all gone a little bit Pete Tong. So I think he's probably made more clubs worse by the time he left than when he walked in. I think that point stands. Moyes will be there until we're mathematically relegated. I hope you're wrong. I hope you're wrong, Luke, but I think you could be correct. Eamon says, why didn't we replace Dawson? If we still had Dawson, Oggy certainly wouldn't be a starter, that's for sure. Rashane Thomas is reporting it, Hammer. Okay. I knew you meant Oggy. On what website, Charlie asks, Hammer89. Not a club ITK, so to speak, says Charlie, but one of the most reliable sources that I find, Twitter. David Sullivan says, Cyber was at Brighton today, saw it on Match of the Day. Yeah, no, we've seen that, mate. We've seen that. Hammer89 says, I've heard the opposite, that he's going, Rafa's coming in. Again, is he... The word that I've heard, Hammer, is that Rafa wants a 3.5-year contract. And I don't believe that David Sullivan is particularly minded to give that to him, unless there's been some sort of, obviously unofficial, through their intermediaries. But unless there's been some sort of dialogue to sort of see if there's sort of a middle ground that can be met, I don't know. I don't, like I say, he wouldn't have been my choice, if we'd have pulled the trigger when I think we should have done, which was after the Leicester game before the World Cup. I think that's when we should have pulled the trigger, and we didn't. And if you'd have offered me Rafa Benitez then, I'd have said, I'm sure we can do better than that. Right now, you offered me Rafa Benitez or David Moyes, I'd snap your arm off for Rafa Benitez, excuse me, if it meant that David Moyes was on his way down the Kermit. Anyway, he is staying if it walks like a duck, says Luke. Oh, no. Epic. There's more than 1 billion people in China and they all eat rice every single day. It's not a stereotype when it's literally true. Fair enough. Ariola was smiling on match of the day. Don't think I'd be smiling if I conceded 4 goals. What about the noodle lads, Epic? We're talking about food now. We got into food. I had a nice little bit of food at Twickenham. Nice big Yorkshire pudding, which had like pulled pork, mashed potato, mushy peas, stuffing, sage and onion stuffing, and lashings of gravy. Lovely, lovely. Really nice day, actually. And there was a few things that I saw at Twickenham, actually, that I sort of looked at and I went, why don't West Ham do that on a match day? Why don't West Ham have this? There you go. Luke, the main ingredient of Chinese noodles is rice, says Epic. Who knew? I didn't. Fornals was poor. Benny was better, says Cyber. You've got to say GSB are ruining our club at the moment. Well, not GSB, because obviously Gold's no longer around, so you can't blame him, poor sod. So just SB. And, I'd like to know how much influence Kretinsky's got in all of this, because I don't think surely he can't be very happy, because at the end of the day, he's made an investment in the club. And at the minute, that investment is going south. He's put his money on black and it's coming in red. It's just, I don't know. I'd imagine that he's probably, but he's not the majority shareholder, so it's not his call, I guess. Whether he's cheating, aiming on Charlie boy. Hope you are well, my friend. It's been a while. Hope everything is good in your particular manner. Hope you're right, Hammer, but I've got a feeling he's going nowhere anytime soon. Yeah, I think you might be right, mate. Charlie boy, no hat, just a veil tonight. Fair play. And Charlie comes in and says he's tried 3 hats and none worked. All at once, asked, mate, how big would his head have to be? Fucking hell. Danny Murphy, Plonker thinks Moyes can keep us up. Don't know. Mate, yeah, I don't know. What does Danny Murphy know about Premier League management himself? I mean, obviously he was managed by Premier League managers, but that doesn't mean to say he knows what a Premier League manager needs to bring to the party to sort of get the results, which obviously we're not getting at the minute. I know go when I got the fourth, I gave up. Mate, I'll say I didn't watch it. I didn't watch any of it. I think he needs to go though. Watching the goals, it's calamitous defending. It's absolutely shocking. But I don't know, mate. Like I say, I think the one thing that makes me think that maybe he's going to go is that the away fans turn today. And I think that once that happens, you're in trouble. Can and Wheel are 2 different things, says Luke. Have you ever been to Windsor? Yeah, I've been to Legoland. Windsor Safari Park, as it was many, many years ago. I don't think I've been to Windsor Castle, though. Don't think I've ever been to Windsor Castle. Paul says, got an agenda when we go down. Didn't expect that. Media can't stand us for some reason. There's a lot of the media that are actually West Ham fans. I mean, a lot of the journalists like Lee Clayton, like Martin Samuels, a lot of the journalists are actually West Ham fans themselves. It's quite strange. Luke, I have Little Rich Town, more armed police per capita than any town in England. Fair play. Charlie boy, Moyes is saying we weren't going to press Brighton today. Said it all for me. Oh, did he? I wasn't aware of that, Charlie. I wasn't aware of that. We're not going to press Brighton. Why? Why? It just makes you look like you're not even fucking trying. Cyber, I'm going Windsor tomorrow. Heard Di Canio lives there. You sure? Paolo Di Canio lives in Windsor. Are you quite sure about that? I thought he lived in Italy. Good luck. I mean, if you're right. I mean, but if you're surely not going to Windsor to see if you bump into Paolo Di Canio. I'll tell you what, if you do, good luck to you. Good luck to you. But I don't think you're going to bump into him, mate. I really don't, because I'm pretty sure he doesn't live in Windsor. Anyway, I have been rabbiting on for an hour and 51 minutes. I am now going to very quickly look at this poll that I set running. Will David Moyes be the West Ham manager for our next Premier League match? Is the current poll that I've got. And as I say, I emphasise this isn't saying, do you think he should be? It's asking you the question if you think he will be the manager for our next Premier League match. Well, at the minute, and I'm going to end it shortly, it's at 63% of you saying yes. Oh no. Oh, that's not good. Please no. But you could be right. You could be right. That is the scary thing. But we're going to find out next week. But there you go. What we got? So Molly, hello. Hope you are well. That's a new one. Not heard that before. She says. Luke comes in, says if you start saying the rugger is better than football, we may need a chat. Would I dare? Look, my sport is football, but I like rugby. I like rugby union. I like all sports, to be honest with you, mate. I like a bit of cricket. I like a bit of rugby. I like a bit of all sorts of sports. Moyes said it was the players' fault. He said it on Match of the Day. Well, the players have to take a level of responsibility, but ultimately the buck stops with the manager. If players are not playing well, it's not the players that are going to get sacked, because there's 25 of them in a Premier League squad. What are you going to do? Sack all 25 players, or are you going to sack the manager? Charlie Boy, in his post game, because they said they had to move the ball too good for us to press them. Really? Oh, God. Such a lack of ambition that shows. Absolute lack of ambition. But that just sort of sums him up, really, for me. Just absolutely sums him up. Anyway, I am now going to end that poll. I'm really surprised that we've got 62% of you guys. Yeah, 62% of you guys that have voted think that he will be the West Ham manager. I think if I was to change the wording of that question and say, do you want David Moyes to be the West Ham manager for our next Premier League match? I've got a funny feeling it might be a slightly different thing. But do you know what? Nothing surprises me in football anymore. Nothing surprises me in football. Should he be the West Ham manager for our next game? Not on the basis of that performance. Probably not on the basis of our performances for the entirety of 2022 in the Premier League and so far in 2023. Certainly on the basis of performances this season. I don't think that you can really make a case for him to still be here for the Villa game, but he probably will be. You're probably right. Last couple of comments before I bugger off. Luke says, Moyes' post-matches are like explaining to your mum why you missed school and went down the park for a beer and smokes instead. Possibly. Are you doing preview for Larnaca? I'm guessing so. That's the plan. I'm not doing the review of today's game because I'm doing this, which wasn't me doing a review of the game as such, because I never watched the game. I'm more reacting to the game, to what I've heard people say, to stories, to bits and pieces, rather than an actual match review. So I'm not doing the preview review of this one. It's back to basically normal services resumed as far as preview reviews are concerned, with Duke on for the Larnaca game. That's the plan. Obviously, as with everything, it all centers on work schedules and this, that, and the other. And as you guys know, Duke runs a pub, so sometimes that gets in the way and whatever. So, but the plan is, yes, review for Larnaca. Ratings tomorrow. Yeah, I think Duke's going to be doing that with Milesy and or Steve. He might have even recorded it already for all I know. So yeah, Bowen calls the pen and then pissed a shot away, and Moyes left him on. Yeah, the penalty was shocking, mate. Absolutely shocking. I've changed my Moyes. I'm Moyes in. Oh, I can't see that you are. I really can't see that you are. Di Canio is hiding in Windsor Castle. Shh. I hope he's not hiding in. Is it Frogmore Cottage? That's the one that Prince Andrew's moving into. I hope he isn't in there with him. Jesus, all sorts could happen there. That could be awful. But there you go. Right. Okay. Before I go, ladies and gentlemen, as it says there, if you would be so kind, please don't forget to like, comment on, and share this stream to your social media platform. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't done so already. And if you haven't, why not? And don't forget to hit the bell icon for alerts on new content. As always, guys, we thank you very much indeed for your support in this matter. I'm going to toddle off. Before I do, please don't forget to lend your full and whole support to this particular endeavour. Forged from Iron is proud to support Iron Supporting Food Banks. They are a group of West Ham United fans and friends inspired by the work of other football fan food banks around the country. They collect food and cash donations from Newham Food Bank in Beckton, who supply 7 distribution centres in the borough, 7 days a week, and hand out several hundred 3-day emergency food packs every month to families in need. They are also working with other groups to improve conditions for vulnerable adults and children in the Newham community. They are supported in their efforts by West Ham United Football Club, the WHU Foundation, LS185, London Legacy Development Corporation, Newham Council, the Met Police, Spire London East Hospital, Expedient Security, and a large number of West Ham and football fans. You can help by making a donation to their Just Giving page. You will find the link to this in the description section of the video details in this stream. Thank you for your support. Come on, you Irons.